The purpose behind this video is to present the actual use of a template for corporate secretarial file checking when you win a new client into your office. As mentioned in the earlier slide, as accountants, you've got to make a decision, are you going to check this or not? And my view, as I've mentioned, there are issues if you don't, but that's not the point. The point here is to demonstrate that you can design systems to do this work that both enhance your practice in terms of the perception of accuracy by your clients, as well as give you access to a procedure to intellectually challenge your staff. And you will decide how you organise this. This is being done in Acrobat Portfolio. Not hard to use, it's pretty easy to learn, and it's very flexible. So you'll be the judge of what you're going to set up. This is just an example of a company secretarial file checklist. So you open it up with a welcome page and then you click Get Started. And again, this is important because presentation for staff in terms of marketing your practice to your own staff, because remember, as accountants we all know that clients are really important, but quality staff are even more important. So the more you can do to challenge your staff, to show them that you are a proactive firm, that you've got tools that are ahead of the competition, the better off you'll be in terms of staff retention and productivity, as well as just general enthusiasm of your people for the work that you actually do. So in the checklist area is the form that is the checklist that we're going to use. But also the way it works is you attach various documents that relate to that form. Now this is important because it means that all those documents can be cross-checked and linked to the original checklist. And again, the way these present is also a tool for finding documents. What you'll find is when you create these things is that people start to know where to look for these forms. You can see them on the bottom, or you can find them by scrolling through. Looks professional, and again, that's important for staff members. So let's start by having a look at this checklist. You open up the checklist, and I'm not going to go through all the fields in here, and I haven't designed it to contain all the fields because accountants will have their own views of what's important, what they want checked, and what they don't. But it's all form-filling software. So again, you can put in the name of the company, and this is a form that presumably will either be given to you electronically or printed out or something like that. You'll work that out. So the first question that we're going to look at, for example, is there a certificate of incorporation on file? Now, we all know what that is, but some people don't, junior staff member in particular. So you can link what a certificate of incorporation actually looks like. And oh, there one is. They can then find that on the form. Now, presumably, you don't need to do that very often to know what one is, but it's there for reference, and it can become more complex than that. So in this case, there's a yes, we've found that particular piece of information. Next one is, say, looking at the issue of member minutes. Member minutes, how do you know what to look for? How do you know what minutes should be on file? Yeah, we all know they probably should be there. There's got to be some there. So there's nothing stopping you as a practitioner defining what you believe should be the minutes and what should be on file. In this case, I'm saying that there's got to be something there. If you can't see anything at all, then please, in the action to be taken area, highlight the fact. So, and remember, this report then flows back to the accountant. So what may happen here is there may be something like this put in, no minutes. Now that's a warning to you when you review this as the accountant that something's got to happen there. Another one is member names. In the member names area, this can be a useful check, and again, this is a function of how you perceive this information to be relevant. But in my opinion is, if you get someone to review a secretarial file and then you check all the names and then ask them to produce those names as they see them in the file as the members and list them, you actually get a useful piece of information because it's telling you, and let's say, it's telling you that maybe the names that you think are on there are not reflected by the register. It's not necessarily going to work every time, but it's all part of trying to get a feedback from a junior staff member. It's also, remember, getting them to think. Now there's information here about directors. Then we've got some issues here regarding, say, register of charges. Now register of charges, I agree, this is getting a bit complicated. But this is the point. You don't need to stop. You can provide easy to access information. Again, this comes straight off the internet, where someone has put up a document that is really good, nice summary of what a charge is and it explains it. Now, you can either copy that as a PDF or link it. It's online, and your staff member now has access to an easy to understand explanation of what these things are. They will look at this, and instead of having a junior who's utterly clueless, you've got this person who is starting to learn things because they're doing basic checking, and you're giving them a form of mentoring electronically. Now, there may need to be more information here to explain the concept of charges and what you're looking for, and that's for another issue. Now, let's say, look here at Division 7A. This is an important tax issue. Is the thing on file or is it not? Do you bother checking that? In my view, any good accountant would, so you need a system for it. So in here, the staff member is looking for that. They can click on this, find effectively a Division 7A loan agreement. You may have templates. Every practice has their own way. They know what roughly they look like. Is there one around or is there not? We all know these things tend to get copied from originals released by the NTAA and other organisations in those areas. So that can all be reviewed. The other part of these interactive forms is that you can put information in there purely on a button basis. So in this case, what we've got is we're talking about are the shares beneficially held. Now, that's a technical point, but at least there's some information. And you could, for example, we all know what the register looks like when shares are beneficially held or not, but it's not impossible for a young administration person or a young grad. They think pretty good. They're lacking in experience. They're not lacking in intelligence. So they can follow this and reduce the work you need to do, because ultimately you're giving them electronic checklists, you're teaching them, and you're creating a way of controlling it. The same sort of method's being used here to explain the concepts of units. A lot of company secretarial files, as we all know, have unit certificates on them. So are they there? What are these unit trusts? Can they find any? And you could spell out, if you can see them, please note. It could just be that there are units on that file, and now all of a sudden that's brought to your attention. That may have some impact. Again, it's not your time that's being used, it's the junior staff member's time. Plus, you're teaching them things, it's interactive, they're learning, and they know that you are precise. The next one here is ASIC. Here you can put a link. ASIC have got a wonderful website in terms of documents. Hard to find things, but here they've listed out all the documents that you need to interact with them regarding a corporate register and what may need to be changed. Well, there it is. You can link it, and the staff member then has access to that. This then highlights the fact that this document can be used for other things by more senior staff members. There's a thing in here concerning, say, common seals. This is an area that often causes confusion. What is a common seal? Do you need one, etc.? You can click on here, and then in this case it refers to your practice's document about common seals, and this is a document which sort of advises the client that they have the seal or you do not have the seal, etc. You can then refer to that as well. You're creating links to all these documents. The purpose behind this is that when it's completed, it's given back to the senior accountant. It's signed by the staff member. They can put additional notes in these fields if they wish, and so on. And you now can then react to that. You can say, I've got to follow this up, there's a problem, or there isn't. In my view, what then you do as part of this, and I haven't linked this here, is you actually generate a letter to the client which actually says that these documents were missing from your file. What would you like us to do? Now, in a lot of cases, because the client arrangement is new and the previous accountant wasn't up to speed, the client will actually pay for it because they see you as being proactive. Now, some of them will react by maybe saying, oh, you're just looking for fees. My experience is that wasn't the case. They can tell the difference between the accountant who's disorganised, doesn't check anything, and all of a sudden an accountant who seems to be very precise. You've got a register, you are an accountancy practice, not graphic artists, so they know that you're precise thinkers, you've told them, and that there are those other advantages. But the key thing is that this can be used to basically outsource higher level work to your internal staff. And I'm yet to be convinced by anyone who hires young people in particular, who, as I've mentioned, are often very clever, though not experienced. They enjoy being challenged intellectually. And these sort of systems let you do that. And an expert system brings that all together by organising all these different things. Because remember, we're talking about one thing here, a corporate register. it brings them all together in a cohesive format that everybody can see.